Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back. And again, we're continuing the series on the iceberg theory. And basically, the real title really should be The Illusion of Control and the Illusion of Fear. I want to begin tonight by doing the reading from today from the language of letting go, taking care of ourselves. We often refer to recovery from codependency and adult child issues as self-care. Self-care is not, as some may think, a spinoff of the me generation. It isn't self-indulgence. It isn't selfishness. In the negative interpretation of that word, we're learning to care for ourselves. We're learning self-responsibility. Self-care also means tending to our true responsibilities to others. We do this better when we're not feeling over-responsible. Self-care sometimes means me first, but usually me too. It means we're responsible for ourselves and choose to no longer be victims. Self-care means learning to love the person we're responsible for taking care of ourselves. Not do this we do not, we do not do this to hibernate in a cocoon of isolation. We do it so we can better love others and learn to let them love us. Self-care isn't selfish, it's self-esteem. Today, God, help me love myself. Help me let go of feelings of being responsible for those around me. Show what I need to do to take care of myself, and as a result, have something very special to share with others. I wanted to read that because tonight I want to spend some time going inside the iceberg. And the iceberg theory, or the illusion of control, the illusion of fear, basically comes from one of my eating disorder recovery books, Anorexics and Bulimics Anonymous. It's one of the core issues of dealing with that particular issue. And one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is to go to the root of that, to the center of it. Loretta, do you have the diagram? Okay. She's going to put something up on the board so we take a look at it. Okay, there it is. Now, if you want a copy of this, we do have, if you go to the website, to Vince's Corner, and go down to the bottom of Vince's Corner where it says other resources, you will see the chapter on isolation of control and the iceberg theory. You can actually download the whole entire chapter. It'll give you a real clear concept of what the iceberg looks like on the inside, and also how we connect it to the outside and connect it to recovery. I wanted to put this up here tonight because this photograph is part of that chapter. And what they show, which is really important, is the heart of the iceberg. You'll notice in the center of the heart is the word self-hatred. On either side of it is the concept of the illusion of control and dishonesty. I also add to this very many times the illusion of fear. And I share this because basically, as you look at the rest of the iceberg, you'll notice the behaviors and stuff that circulate around the heart. And many of us can really connect to these. And what I do recommend doing, if you do download it, just kind of go through and take a look at the things that do pertain to you. We're going to get into that heart and talk about that heart tonight. Because we get into things like rigidity, perfectionism, self-pity, envy. All these things are part of it. But I want to connect to the core, to the center, to the root. So basically what I want to talk about tonight primarily is that concept of self-hatred and the illusions and the illusion of control. I want to bring something out very strongly tonight. Okay, Loretta, you can move it back up. Very strongly, though, I really want to talk about that concept of what happens to us. I think so many of us, myself included, have spent a good period of our life, as I mentioned last week, in survivor mode. And as a result of that process, so many times in the course of our journey, we have literally blocked out who we really are. And I kind of share this with you on a personal level because what I'm beginning to understand very clearly about self-hatred is I can truly hate myself, not even knowing I am, Because what it means is I'm living externally, not internally. Now, let me just share this on a personal level first. When I got ordained a priest, the illusion of control, I basically wanted to go to the inner city, to be a jail chaplain, to work with the poorest of the poor. The bishop sent me to an affluent place. And I know God had a purpose in all this today. Back then, I was trying to control the whole situation. But as a result of going to that parish, being connected with an alcoholic pastor, I was taken to my first 12-step meeting in 1969. The meeting was Al-Anon. And Al-Anon, as most of you know, there's some very strange people at Al-Anon because they kept telling me at Al-Anon to work on me. And of course, I didn't have any problems because I was Mr. Wonderful and Mr. Fantastic. I went there so they could tell me how to fix him. But those people, they're very strange. They kept insisting on working on me. Jenna knows what I'm talking about. So the concept is, I wasn't ready to work on me because basically I didn't think I needed any work. And yet, deep down inside, I didn't truly understand what was really going on. The good thing about Al-Anon, at least I got to transfer to another parish. And I went from, one place to another place. It was the same thing. So as a result, in 1973, when I was 33 years old, I had a nervous breakdown. I was in a hospital. And this very, very nice doctor, I wish I could remember his name, came up to me and he said, first of all, he identified my alcoholism and got me to understand I was using alcohol as a sedative to avoid having to look at life and things around me and able to deal with life. So basically, he said to me, he said, Vince, I got to tell you this, you're spiritually dead. You have no idea who you are. You're a robot. You're doing everything on the outside, nothing on the inside. Oh, yeah, you function well. You get things done. You organize. In fact, you over-organize. Again, I was living in that illusion of control. As long as I can control everything, keep everything the way I want it to be, and also I always had the fear deep down inside, which I found out later in therapy, the fear of getting found out, the fear of having to look to the inside, the fear of having to feel. All those things were blocked for a long period of time. And yet, at the same time, functioning is not a problem. And so I realize now I was avoiding going to that heart, to that center. Because to me, that concept of self-hatred, when you really work yourself into the ground and beat yourself up, and you're constantly moving towards addictions and things to that effect, it really means you don't like who you are. And so as a result, you're going to the negative side instead of the positive side. And I'm going to be honest with you. Once again, see, I'm Italian, I got a hard head, what can I tell you? But the thing I learned is, I didn't listen to him either. Because I wasn't ready to listen. See, I was scared. I didn't know I was scared, but I was scared. And as a result, how crazy I was, I couldn't even have a nervous breakdown. I went to the hospital to get a rest. I really wasn't sick. I never put you in a hospital and get the psychiatric ward to get you rest. I didn't know that. But anyway, the bottom line is, it took me until 1985, 1986 to finally, with the help of a lot of people I'm grateful for today, for a lot of people who pushed my buttons, and boy, they pushed them, for a lot of people who literally through the back door brought me into the rooms of recovery, for real. I was in them before, but not for real. To really begin to do my work, to begin to make changes, and I finally began to discover something. I really did not know at all who I really was. And I'm going to be honest with you. Beginning that journey and going inside is scary. Because I know, again, being compulsive as I am, I wanted to figure it out right away and get it done right away. Hurry up, get it done. But it wasn't that easy. It's a process. It's a learning process. So I finally understand now what spirituality really is. That's why that reading today talked about self-esteem. It talks about the development of the personal self. Because again, how can you share with others the gift of yourself, the gift of your love, the gift of your talents, the things around you, if you truly don't have them? It's like sharing from an empty barrel. They make a lot of noise, but they're empty. And so you learn after a period of time that the more I learn about myself, the more I begin to do work on me, because that's what spirituality actually is, to come to a sense of my spirit. And all of a sudden, things begin to happen. You begin to realize the fact you have talents you never knew you had. You begin to realize you can do things you never thought you could do before. And things took you to other destinations, other areas, other ways. And so as a result, then I begin to realize over and over again that there's so much to learn about ourselves as people. And yet, what happens in the iceberg, if I can't have a good sense of myself, how can I take the courage and have the strength to be able to go and look at all those other issues? I remember when I was doing therapy in my office, when I was giving the lecture at 12 o'clock today, right next to my computer on the wall is a picture of my therapist, who I did a lot of this work with. He's not with us anymore, but I put that up there in memory of him. I keep it up there because every once in a while I want to keep looking at him and realizing the fact that he was pretty tough, but he was real. And he opened up doors for me. And the crazy part about it is we're human beings. We fight, we battle instead of being able to look at it. Who really wants to look at themselves on the inside? That's why I have a lot of respect and a lot of honor for the 12 steps of our recovery programs. I truly believe they're a formula of self-love, a formula of self-discovery, a beautiful formula of life. And everything we do in life, you got to realize it's almost like it takes time to redo that heart, to begin to build a most healthier heart, to begin to truly get to know myself. And over time, with the help, now here's a big point. You can't do this by yourself. You need help, guidance, direction. You need to be able to get support. I think what kills many of us, especially as codependents, is we want to do it by ourselves. We want to be in charge. You're not in charge. There's something greater than us in charge. It's like an energy of getting in touch with the real you on the inside. What I love so much about that concept is it's a concept that takes time, a little bit at a time. There's no magic. I'll tell you a couple stories. Years ago, I worked in Atlantic City when I was a priest, and I worked at a drug program. I helped get it started way back then. It's called Narco back then. Now it's called the Johnny Brooks Center. It's still there. But Johnny Brooks was a recovering addict, and we kind of got this started way back then. And basically, Narco, way back in the 70s, was a rehab for guys that were basically sentenced to rehab for drug addiction. So the entire facility were people that were sentenced there. And we had this wonderful therapist. His name was Rob. And Rob was the therapist that learned how to become a therapist while he served 10 and a half years in state penitentiary. Then he came out and he went to school and he got his license and he got himself developed. And he was a real character. He was from the bottom up. And these are the people I love so much. He truly had to work on himself. But he did something I'll never forget. Because typically with compulsive people, I've experienced this working in the jail system, how all of a sudden people find God. All of a sudden they're converted. All of a sudden everything's great. All of a sudden, they found the light. Whenever we do that, it's not magic. It's a process. I used to say mass at the county jail, on 6:30 on Sunday nights. I had a big crowd, because, people got out of their cells to come to mass. So I had Muslims, I had everybody, nobody did what they believed. They came anyway. And the thing was, it's the only place I ever went to in my life where they told me to make the mass longer. because basically they wanted to stay there as long as they could. So we'd end up we'd end up having rap sessions and talking, sharing and all kinds. Sometimes I was there from 6:30 till 9 o'clock at night. I learned a lot though. They didn't realize how much they were teaching me. That later on paid off in my life. And I say that too about Rob. Rob had this wonderful way of getting to people. You know, when guys came to our program, he did the initial intervention. They would come in and they sit down and tell Rob how they're never going to do it again. You know, I made a mistake, this and that, and everything else. You know, I got it now. You ain't got to worry. I'll do whatever you tell me. But they're on and on and on and on. Rob would listen to them for about 10 minutes. Then behind his desk, he kept a plunger with a 6-foot handle on it. He would take the plunger and shove it in their mouth. And then he would say to them, now you listen to me. This is how it works. This is how we have to do it. Whenever they try to open their mouth, they got the plunger back in it again. It was amazing to watch him. And yet he got his point across. Of course, his therapeutic concept wasn't really from the books, probably from the prison, but what can I say? The concept is he got his point across. We can't do that today, by the way, so don't worry. I don't have a plunger as starting point, so they scared that way. But the bottom line is, it's almost like I learned something from him. That sometimes we have to learn that hearing what you have to hear, you don't want to hear it. I know those drug addicts that came in from court and stuff, they don't want to hear what he had to say. And yet he was going to make them listen to what he had to say. And I realized that too in every area of life. So many of us fight this process because I've learned that illusion of control can literally destroy you. When you think you're in control when you're not in control. When you think you've got everything together, when you don't. It's amazing what the human mind can do. The things that we can do to ourselves and our compulsiveness because we're looking for quick answers. I give you a good example of that today. You know, I'm having a problem with my back. I have a L5 small fracture on my back. I went to the doctor today, and I was talking to him, and I figured, wow, this guy's going to do some magic on me and get this thing really fixed up and all that. And unfortunately, he didn't do that. He said to me, we're going to give you a 6-week plan to actually work on the process of getting this thing better. In my head, I said, 6 weeks? Don't you know I'm a codependent? What do you mean 6 weeks? And yet, I admire him because he was a surgeon. And he said, the last thing he ever wanted to do in his life was surgery. He said, you follow this plan. And he put it together for me, step by step, what I have to do. And it's amazing, he made things pretty clear. But he taught me something. He said, listen, healing is a process. Learning is a process. Nothing happens overnight. Recovery is a process. And a little bit at a time, things really work. But see, we have a hard time with patience. I know I do. And many of us do. And many of us want those quick answers to everything. That's sometimes how we have a tendency sometimes not to look at the concept of investing in ourselves and learning about ourselves, because we all have issues. Congratulations. I can look around that iceberg, and guess what? Over 70% of the things on that iceberg pertain to me. They connect to my issues. I know it. And guess what? They'll be part of my life for the rest of my life, but they're my issues. We all got issues. Congratulations. The bottom line is, am I able to face them, embrace them, learn from them, grow from them, and allow that heart to become more cohesive, to become connected together, to begin the process of healing and growing? Because melting the iceberg is not easy. Because the iceberg is a protection. But slowly but surely and gradually, we have ability to be able to slowly but surely, slowly melt that iceberg and begin to learn. And I'm learning also it's something we'll do for the rest of our life because the iceberg is something we have to work on. I learned a long time ago, never be done. Never, ever, ever be done. That's really important. And I think what happens a lot of times is when we think we're done, it means we're not. So I've said this about codependents and addicts and everybody else. When will I be done? Probably 10, 15 years after I'm dead. And for many codependents, about 50 years. That's okay. Still got work to do. We have to rediscover new things and do new things. It's all part of the process we go through in life. And so we're learning, but I have to rebuild my heart, my core, my center. I'll talk a lot more about that when I get to the fourth part of this series. And I talk a lot about the recovery process and how the recovery process works. But you have to realize something. Getting into that iceberg and beginning to really take a look at it. Now, that's where you need help and guidance. I still go to therapy every 2 weeks. I still work on different things in life. I still need my recovery program. I need my sponsor. I need people to connect with. I got to continue this process. I don't want it to end because every day you discover something new. It's called progress. We never get to perfectionism because you know what perfectionism is inside that iceberg? It's one of the key issues of the iceberg. Because perfectionism can kill you. There is no perfect. We're not robots. We're people. And that's the adventure of life. And that's why we got to go through some struggles, got to go through some healing. And that doctor said it to me today. He said the healing process is going to be slow and gradual, but it will be permanent. It's a process you're going through. And yes, it's going to involve patience. It's going to involve sacrifice. It's going to involve different things. But it made a lot of sense. But it clarified everything. So I take that into the iceberg, and I realize the fact that that heart in the iceberg, to go from that concept of emptiness, loneliness, that concept of being hard on myself, beating myself up, looking at myself negatively, to rebuilding the person within me. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret. Make sure you don't tell anybody, okay? I'm going to tell you a secret. Once you begin to do this and begin to do your work, all of a sudden, you begin to experience, you begin to develop new talents, new gifts, and discover things you never thought you'd be able to do in your life. I never thought in my life I'd be able to be giving talks about stuff that I've experienced, I've gone through, be able to open up that concept, be able to be around people that are in recovery. Never in my life did I ever think I'd be able to write, be able to put things together. I never knew these talents and these gifts and things of this effect. I've also learned more and more how to relax, how to take it easy, how to enjoy the things around you, to enjoy the people every day that you meet. The greatest gift I get at starting point is just being able to say hello to meet people, to get a hug, to realize the importance of what life really is all about. It's not about complication. I mean, we live in a world that will complicate going to the bathroom. Totally amazing. We'll find a way to analyze it. What can I tell you? I don't know. But the bottom line is the simplest things help us to go through our growing process. And that's where that concept of going to the core and the center, and it comes down to three things. Do you love yourself? Develop a sense of our spiritual self. To realize the fact that we need help and we need guidance, we need direction. To open ourselves up to other individuals and people and to learn from all the people around us. To realize that we're on a track where we're no different than anybody else. Intellectually, we might know something more than somebody else in one area, but not in another area. And so you have to be able to pick each other's brains and learn from one another. To realize the fact that each one of us is gifted and talented. Each one of us is unique and special. Each one of us is on a journey. Open up that journey and allow yourself to begin to experience it. And yet, I'm going to be honest with you, it's scary. I never understood this, and now I do. Now, something can be scary and beautiful at the same time. It can be painful and joyful at the same time. It's that ultimate balance of everything in life. And yes, we're going to go through failure. We're going to go through hurt. We're going to go through struggle. And then we're going to go through joy and happy. All these kinds of things. We have a mixture of so much in the course of our journey in life. And yet, when you really go to that core and that center, and you learn your self-esteem and realize how special and wonderful you really are, you begin to build yourself up and you realize the fact that, hey, I'm not so bad after all. Yeah, bad things happened. And yeah, in life, I've done some crazy stuff. Every one of us has a little bit of Urkel inside of us. You say things like, did I do that? We all have a little bit of that inside of us. As we go through our history and look at our life and see where things have taken us and realize the fact that it's okay. We make mistakes. The secret is, can I grow? Can I learn? So we got to defrost that iceberg. We got to look at the issues that are on the inside. I'll share some of mine. Worry, guilt, fear, anxiety, depression, being able to be controlled all the time, never have a life, no childhood, no real sense of childhood, to be able to experience issues of abuse, abandonment. All these things make up a mixture of negative stuff that was stuffed inside of here for a long period of time. Now, is it still coming out? Yeah. I still deal with fear constantly. My therapist is always working with me on the illusion of fear. Many things in life, because of accidents, things have happened. I have fears in my life. There's a lot more stuff I have to work on, my issues. I use an analogy sometimes. I can put my issues in jail, I can arrest them, but they break out every so often. You got to rearrest them again. Then you rearrest them again. You rearrest them until about 20 years after you're dead. You still rearrest them. What can I tell you? It's all part of the process of life. Everything changes. And so look to the core of the iceberg. And the two big things. Do you want to live your life in fear and control? That's an illusion. I mean, I learned this a long time ago, and I'll share it to the day I die, I hope. It's a very simple formula. When I was 20 years old, I was 20 at one time. I really was. Don't forget that, okay? When I was 20 years old, I knew everything. I had all down pat. Then I turned 30, and I discovered the questions. It's amazing I had the answers before I discovered the questions. Then I turned 40, and I found out there weren't any answers. I turned 50, and I said, well, what can I do? And I went to 60 and 70. Well, might as well let it all hang out now. Then I turned 80. Wow. Just go with the flow and see what happens. Be happy just to wake up in the morning. All the little things, the basic things of life, they change. So many things in life, there are no answers for them. And we're crazy people sometimes that keep searching for answers to things that have no answers. Like mystery. Mystery is part of life. Faith is part of life. What do you think faith is? To have faith that something out there's going to guide us will be okay. To have a sense of faith and trust. To be open to new things and new directions. To experience things. To stay away from being critical. I love one of my favorite clubhouses is the 400 Club in Berlin. And I go there every so often. I speak. And I have these bunch of young guys that come to the club. I get the biggest kick out of them. They have about 5,000 tons of energy, and they're really in there. And they got all these outfits on, and they got these haircuts like the one with it's half this and half the hair, and the other one's got the Indian thing across the top and all that kind of stuff and everything else, and they got all kinds of. I love it being around them. They bring me this gift of youth. And we kid with each other. We have a lot of fun with each other. You know, the girls come in with these jeans on. They go all ripped up and everything on the inside. And I keep telling them, I says, what happened? You had an accident? You know, she said, I paid good money for these jeans. I said, you really did? My God, you got taken. And we go back and forth, you know, and then we talk about, you know, their shoes. Well, young people never tie their shoes. They walk around in sneaks with their shoes untied all the time. And I kid them, but we kid, we have fun. That's what it's all about. But guess what? I am learning so much from those guys because they have so much energy and so much spirit. They've been in recovery for a while and they appreciate it. They appreciate life. They're breaking through the illusions. And that's what it's all about. I don't want to live my life in illusion. I want to realize the fact that there's something more to be discovered, to learn. Yes, you're going to have handicaps. You're going to go through changes. Your body's going to change. It's going to get older, by the way, it will. And as a result, then, really, there'll be aches, there'll be pains, there'll be joy, there'll be celebration. There'll be that balance. The old yin and yang, everything in life. And balance is another great spiritual word. Got to have both. You know, sometimes we get into recovery, we think, wow, the pink cloud. Well, the pink cloud doesn't work. You know that. Joe can tell you that. It doesn't work. You know, pink cloud's nice, as in some euphoria. I'm going to save the world, you know, and then I find out, you know what, maybe I better work on me. Remember a guy coming out of rehab and he said, I'm going to go to the prisons, to the jails. I'm going to go to the hospitals. I'm going to go here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make 3 meetings a day, back and forth, back and forth. And he did it for about 3 months. And he was exhausted. And then I said, come on down. Come on down to reality. Now we're going to get into living life, being part of life. And that's important. Everything changes. We're going to change. Relationships change. So our process as we learn our self-esteem, our sense of ourself, our spiritual self as we develop it, it's going to go through changes also. Our connection with our higher power changes. Our prayer life changes. Things work in different directions. Obstacles come in the way. They change things around. You can't just live this life like boom, 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 boom all the time. You got to be able to have flexibility to move around a little bit. And that's the adventure of what life really is all about. You know, we live in a world of complication, in a world of craziness, live in a new world of technology. It's here, it's not going away. How do we adjust it spiritually? How do we use it in a spiritual way? How do we use that to go to that core, that center, and begin to build our good self-esteem, a good sense of ourself to share with others? Because remember, your self-esteem will only grow when it's shared. To share your pain, to share things with you, to be open. That's where growth takes place. But remember, like that doctor said to me today, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Just take it slow, do these little things, and eventually it's called progress. Now, will you be able to straighten this out completely? No. Why? Because there's damage that was done. You got to be able to adjust it now in a positive way. Everything in life is that way. Wonderful. So we experience new things in new directions. And yet I'm no different than you. When I went there this morning, I was looking for magic. You know, and he didn't have a magic wand. It's amazing, isn't it? As a result, then I have to realize the fact he was very real, real down to earth, real clear, real precise. And I thanked him for it at the end. I didn't like it, but I thanked him for it at the end because I really wanted the magic wand. Who wouldn't? You come right down to it. Right, Pat? Who wouldn't want the magic wand? But it's all part of it. What are you going to do? So anyway, I shared that with you because I want you to take a look at the iceberg. I had Loretta put it up at the beginning, but again, you can pick it up on on Vince's Corner, pick up the whole that chapter. When I read that chapter on the illusion of control, it scared me. And yet I was so glad to be able to read it, because finally everything clicked. What was going on in my life, I have to work on it in the journey. So next week, I want to concentrate on the outside of the iceberg, what creates the iceberg, the aspect of addictions, and how addictions are a way in which we can isolate and hide. And basically, then the last week, we'll talk about the recovery process and how it works. And then we're going to have a conversation about this too, and put it together. So I get excited about this because that chapter on the illusion of control helped me so tremendously in my life. And I realize today it's just an illusion, because you're not in control of anything. Believe me. We think we are, but we're not. So that's the whole process we go through. God knows where it's going to go. Wherever it's going to go, it's going to go. What are you going to do? Got to go with it. So my prayer tonight is that we can basically open our hearts and open our minds to release that illusion and be able to open up just to all the experiences and things we have in life. The aches, the pains physically, the joy, the celebration, our feelings, our emotions, our spiritual self, every aspect of ourself as a person. So let us pray. God, we come before you in prayer. We ask the God of our understanding, our divine presence, to guide us and be with us on this journey. Teach us to realize that we are not alone, that your spirit is with us no matter what we do. You opened up a whole new life for us. Thank you. Gratitude. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the obstacles, for the things we had to go through. I'm grateful for everything in the course of the journey. Help me deep down inside. I ask the God of my understanding, please help me. Guide me. And teach me not to be afraid to reach out, to ask for help, to ask for guidance, to ask for direction, to be open to new things and new ways, and to realize that we're never done. Teach me to relax, to enjoy the journey, to enjoy the spirit. Teach me to appreciate every little thing in life, and to realize that there is so much we can learn from every person that comes into our life. For we are pupils and teachers every day of our life. We're all connected. We are all equal in many ways. We ask God to guide us and be with us and keep sending those messengers, please. And just help me and help all of us to be open to each and one of them as they come into our life. We pray for this spirit, for this guidance, and for this direction as we go on the journey of developing our spiritual self. We truly are on a journey of living the journey of life. So thank you, God, for walking with us on the journey. Amen.